The Holocaust of 1941 to 1945 was a mass genocide of the Jewish community. The Holocaust was led by Hitler and his Nazi army. A question that Big History caused us to ask was, why did the Holocaust happen in the first place? Some people say that Hitler believed that the Jews killed Jesus, which is why he led the Holocaust. There was a section of the Bible where the Jews were voting to crucify either Jesus or a murderer, and chose to have Jesus die on the cross instead of having the murderer die on the cross. So, after answering this question, we then asked, what are some other famous examples of religious persecution? So, one of the things that we thought of when we tried to answer this question was the Crusades. One of the earliest forms of religious persecution. This was when the Christians fought the Muslims.
Another form of religious persecution that we found was anti-Mormonism. Mormonism was a religion based off of Christianity. Mormonism started in the U.S. However, people weren't fond of the practice of Mormonism, so the Mormon pioneers had to move around a lot just to get away from the persecution. Eventually, they ended up in a lonely desert Utah and built Salt Lake City. These three, the Holocaust, anti-Mormonism, and the Crusades, were basically the only famous forms of religious persecution that we could think of. So we moved on to the bigger picture. What are some famous examples of discrimination in general? One of the examples that we found was the caste system in ancient India. The Indian caste system was basically the same thing as social classes. The high classes get the favorable government positions, and the low classes were the peasants and workers. Meanwhile, the untouchables, almost considered as no class, had to survive on their own. Then we thought, we already have social class discrimination and religious discrimination. Is there any other types of discrimination out there? The final model of persecution that we thought of was Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King was basically fighting against black persecution. He was mainly famous for gaining racial inequality through nonviolent acts. What this means is that the blacks were discriminated because of their skin color, which is one type of other discrimination.
Thank you for watching.
And we hope you learned something.